understand budgets. I understand how business runs, and so that skill set I think is very good for this Senate district.
Well, I'm trained as a lawyer, and lawyers, one thing we are trained to do is find compromise and negotiate settlements in difficult circumstances.
It is an important seat to the balance of power in the state Senate. Good morning and welcome to For the Record. I'm News 3 political reporter Jessica Arp sitting in for Neil Heinen today. Southwest Wisconsin has been a political battleground this election year with the retirement of Republican Senator Dale Schultz. The Senate seat had already drawn Republican Representative and accountant Howard Markline of Spring Green into the race, then had 2 Democrats run for the nomination. In August, a tight primary race first announced Ernie Whitwer the winner. Then after a controversial recount, attorney Pat Bomhack then emerged as the winner for the general election this morning. We'll talk with both candidates vying for the 17th Senate District, and we start today this morning with Pat Bomhack. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, tell folks, first of all, a little bit about yourself and why you're running for Senate.
That's all right, gladly. Well, first of all, I want to say, this summer, I was helping coach a volleyball camp in Spring Green at River Valley High School. It was a youth girls volleyball camp. And one of the girls during one of the breaks came up to me and she said, "Aren't you running for something? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing so?" And the answer is pretty straightforward. I'm deeply concerned about the direction that our state is headed, especially with more and more conservative elements controlling our state legislature. And I think the best way I can make a difference is by serving in the state Senate.
What is your biggest priority as you look at the race? What is the one issue that you think is the most important to the 17th Senate District?
Fundamentally, I think it's about how you're going to approach government. What I pledge to the people of Southwest Wisconsin is very simple. I will work to build consensus. I will work to bring the parties together. I will seek compromise between the parties. And essentially, I will carry forward the legacy and the banner of Senator Dale Schultz. I was really honored when recently Dale told a reporter that of the 2 guys running to replace him, I'm the guy that most shares Dale's values.
And you actually have some mailers out that have his pictures on it and whatnot, but he hasn't formally endorsed you. But I guess what would you say, how are you the same and how are you different from Dale?
Well, I really appreciate the kind words that Dale has spoken in favor of our campaign. I think both of us share a commitment to bipartisanship, and both of us also share a commitment and an understanding of the pressing issue facing Southwest Wisconsin, which is the underfunding crisis that is affecting rural schools. Dale and I were at a CISA Region 3 meeting a couple weeks ago together. And it was an opportunity to have all of the superintendents from Southwest Wisconsin in one room. And one of the superintendents posed the question to the group, how many of you in your communities have had to go to a referendum to raise taxes on your local communities because of the underfunding crisis we have here in Southwest Wisconsin? And over 2/3 of the superintendents raised their hand. The budget cuts have hurt our rural schools, and the expansion of school vouchers has hurt our rural schools. So Dale and I are both focused on fixing the funding formula and making sure that every child in Southwest Wisconsin gets a quality education.
How would you change that formula?
Well, there's a great proposal presented by our state superintendent, Tony Evers. Now, Tony Evers has the respect and esteem of both Republicans and Democrats. He's not really a political guy. He's an education guy. And he has a proposal called Fair Funding for Our Future, which changes the formula so it's less based on property taxes, more towards income taxes, and it would benefit rural communities because right now we are getting shortchanged. Under the current system, the school vouchers get $7,000 per pupil. $7,000 per pupil, but out in River Valley, they get $4,200 per student. We are getting shortchanged under the voucher system. We're getting shortchanged under the current funding formula. I'm going to go to Madison. I'm going to fight to fix that formula, and it's going to improve the schools out in Southwest Wisconsin.
You have been, there's been a number of ads run on television by Wisconsin.
I hadn't noticed.
Yeah, nobody watching our program, I suppose. Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce running a lot of ads, specifically tying you to the Doyle administration and some of the policies there. What you worked in the Doyle administration. Can you tell me of those things that they talk about? Senior care, Obamacare, the estate tax, some of the things that they've talked about raising. Did you support all of those things, or can you clarify your support for some of Governor Doyle's policies?
I was a caseworker for Governor Doyle in the executive office, and my job was to work with constituents and make sure that when they had issues with a particular state agency, that I would help them navigate the state bureaucracy. Now, when it comes to these commercials, the important point here is that in the last couple of years, $1 million in special interest money has been invested in Howard Markline. And the reason that 3 groups alone have invested $1 million in Howard Markline, the Wisconsin Club for Growth, the Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, which put on those TV ads, and the American Federation for Children. These are 3 groups that know that Howard Markline is going to vote on the side of big business, and he is going to vote to continue to privatize our public schools and turn them into profit centers. And that is why they have invested over $1 million on Howard Markline's behalf. It's actually, people in Southwest Wisconsin, these TV ads are driving them crazy, because this is the largest downpour of special interest, big business money that has ever been invested in any candidate in the history of Southwest Wisconsin. I think it's wrong. I think we need to change our campaign finance system, and that's one of the issues I'm going to focus on.
But can you tell me, though, did you support the tax increases that were in the 2 budgets that they mention in these ads?
We absolutely should protect senior care. We absolutely should protect the taxpayers' interests. I didn't have any direct role in advising the governor on any of those issues.
Okay. You talk about wanting to build consensus and bring people together and being an independent voice for your district. You have the endorsements of the current minority leader of the state Senate and the former minority leader of the state Senate. When you have endorsements from leadership, which especially you've got them in the primary, which is kind of unusual, how do you defend that you would be an independent voice when you already, before you ever come in, seem to have the endorsements of the leadership of your party? How would you stand up to them?
Well, I think it's very telling that 2 different kinds of people are supporting our race. In the general election, very much obviously Democrats have been supporting our race. But I got to tell you, when I go door to door, I talk to independents, I talk to Republicans, we talk to everybody. I was out in Reedsburg the other day, and I was at the door with a man. He said, "Hey, Pat, I'm a Republican. I know Dale. Dale is a friend of mine. I've always voted for Dale. I've always been a Republican, but I'm voting for you. And the reason is, I don't like what Howard Markline has done in terms of the votes he's taken against our district. And I don't like what he's done in terms of trying to push people out of the Republican Party and push it further and further to the right. So the only endorsement that I am seeking right now is the endorsement of the people of Southwest Wisconsin."
What would be the first bill you would want to author as a state senator?
I think one thing we've got to do is fix our rural roads. My job is to be an advocate for Southwest Wisconsin. Our rural roads are in disrepair. They are in a deteriorating condition. I was out at Senator Schultz's farm recently, and we had an opportunity to share conversation over the kitchen table. And then he took me out to the front of his farm, and he took me to the highway road in front of his house, and there was a big pothole right there. And he said, "You see this pothole? It's not set to be fixed until 2017. And Southwest Wisconsin has gotten shortchanged in the budget. In the most recent budget, actually, the governor increased transportation funding by almost $900 million, but over half of that went to just 2 projects in Milwaukee County. And what I'm going to do is make sure we get our bite of the apple. Howard Markline has actually supported increasing transportation funding for those projects in Milwaukee, while gutting funding for projects out in Southwest Wisconsin. So that's one of the issues I'm going to focus on right away.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being with us this morning. We're going to talk a little bit with your opponent, but obviously, Pat Baumhack, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back with more.
We can have a state government where both political parties work together. We've done it before, but we've got to change who we're sending to Madison.
People, ultimately, they want to vote for somebody who has real life experiences, not a promise of what somebody might do in the future.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record today. I'm Jessica Arp in for Neil Heinen, and we're discussing the race for the 17th Senate District in southwestern Wisconsin, where Democrat Pat Baumhack faces Republican Assembly Representative Howard Marklein. We spoke with Pat first this morning, and now we welcome Representative Marklein. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Well, can you tell folks first of all a little bit about yourself and why you are running for Senate?
I grew up in the Senate District on a farm. I still live a mile from our home farm. My roots are very, very deep in the district. My background is in the private sector. I'm a CPA. I have worked, many, many years in the private sector. I know how employers, the issues that they face. I know how to balance a budget, and I've used my skill set in the state assembly in digging into issues. And so I think my skill set is very, very good for the Senate district, and also my background in agriculture. Agriculture is still the #1 industry in our Senate district. It's the biggest industry in the state of Wisconsin, and again, my deep roots with agriculture and are, I think, very, very helpful for my Senate race.
Why can you do more in the state Senate than you could do in the Assembly, and what do you see as the biggest priority of the voters in the 17th?
Well, I think there's just fewer state senators, obviously. So, I think you have more of an impact in terms of policy decisions in the Senate than you do in the Assembly. I've enjoyed my time in the Assembly. Biggest issue, I think, in southwestern Wisconsin is still jobs and government regulation. We need jobs in that part of the state. We've got communities. Rural communities where our schools have declining enrollment. We need jobs to foster that growth. So I think ultimately the biggest issue in Southwest Wisconsin is still jobs, good paying jobs. We're finding now that we've got job openings. I can go to a lot of manufacturers and businesses that have help wanted signs out today, and they can't find people with appropriate skills and backgrounds to fill those jobs. So it's a matter of aligning the job openings with the available labor, and make sure we've got the skill sets so people can satisfy those job needs.
So what would you propose to do about that then? I mean, whether it be creating jobs or aligning skill sets, what are your ideas to do that?
Well, I think if I want to grow an economy, the first thing I want to do is make sure that the businesses that we have there today can succeed. And the thoughts that I have there, regulation is frequently stands in the way as a barrier, to job growth, to business expansion. I want to make sure that those barriers, those unneeded barriers, are reduced or taken away. The other thing is, I think, is with our tech colleges. We've got businesses that need welders, for example, and the welders, they're being paid $18 to $25 an hour. They're pretty good jobs. We need to make sure that our tech colleges have the openings available, which I think they do, and I also think in our high schools we need to encourage our students and make sure that our students are aware that there are some pretty decent jobs out there that require something short of a 4-year college degree, but they can be very, very successful and support a family.
So do you add funding to tech schools in order to create more openings or allow more people to get in?
It's that, and also I think our tech colleges in Southwest Technical College has been very good, I think, in prioritizing programs. They're very well connected with our business community. I've just heard a lot of good things from our tech colleges, from our businesses, primarily about our tech colleges. And so as far as priorities, the other thing I'm kind of happy about is that there are some programs that they have eliminated at Southwest Tech, which is appropriate as our economy changes, and we want to make sure that we have appropriate, we're training people for good skills that they can support a family on.
Now, you've been running some ads yourself. Your daughter apparently claims that she had to apply for withholdings on her allowance. But you talk about you want to be an independent voice, and you are an independent voice in Madison. Now, Dale Schultz, who had formerly held this seat, has been pretty critical of that, saying this week actually on the radio that when you say that you're an independent, it's like a Russian news agency saying they're independent of Vladimir Putin. I wanted to get your thoughts on that, and how do you prove that you'll be an independent voice in the legislature?
I guess look at my track record. You know, I vote my district. All the legislation that I have authored and has been signed into law has been bipartisan. Every single bill that I've done, whether it was my assembly district specific or whether it affected the entire state of Wisconsin. So, you know, I'm a problem solver. I work across the aisle. I look to work across the aisle. Yeah, you know, especially in solving problems that aren't just unique to my assembly district. So if you look at 2012, the election in 2012, in my assembly district, there were 3,000 people that voted for Barack Obama and voted for Howard Marklein. I think that's pretty good proof that I have support across the aisle and that I work on a very bipartisan basis.
Now, how does that jive? So, you know, Senator Schultz says he votes his district, and on some issues, he voted very differently than you. So, how do you decide what it is that is the priority of your district? Because the two of you represent the same, generally the same area, and he's voting quite differently than you.
Again, I listen to people. You know, I get out, I listen to people in my assembly district. I always have. I've got relationships, you know, throughout the district in all facets of government and in business, and I listen to those people. You know, I enjoy spending more time in my district than I do in Madison, and I will continue to do that in the state Senate.
What do you say to the criticism? You know, Pat, we were asking about there's Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce has been running a number of ads connecting him to the Doyle administration and policies there, and he mentioned that, you know, they're spending all this money on behalf of you, and that you're somehow beholden to those special interests. Do you think that is the case? And how do you tell folks? I mean, do you stand by the messages that they're sharing in those ads?
I have not seen the ads, so I guess I don't know what if I can stand, because I'm too busy to sit in front of the TV at this during this time of the year to worry about watching TV ads. So I have not seen any of the ads. So I guess I'm not sure what they're even saying. So I'm my person. I represent my district. I represent the people that vote for me and will vote for me, and I'll do that again in the future.
So what is the first bill that you would author as a state senator?
I think we need to take a good look at our transportation budget and whether that's part of the budget bill. There's some things in the way we spend money in transportation. I guess I'm a little bit concerned about. We seem to spend a lot of money on what I would consider to be kind of frills on projects. We have some of these beautiful bridges and overpasses and all that. But in our part of the state, in southwest Wisconsin, we have some basic needs that aren't being met. And I would encourage us to focus more on the basics, make sure that our infrastructure is fundamentally sound and not over-designed. I think we could probably save 10% or more on our transportation costs based on my conversations with contractors, with union members, and with engineering firms and highway commissioners.
But to be clear, you'd actually take transportation out of the full state budget?
No, the transportation budget is part of the state budget.
Okay, but you would just align priorities differently?
Well, I think we need to take a look at how we're spending our transportation money. You know, it looks like we're going to have a projected deficit. We need to make some we need to do something different in the transportation budget in the future. Before we start talking about additional revenue, I want to make sure that how we spend the money is done efficiently and effectively.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Again, Pat Bomhack and Howard Marklein running for the 17th Senate District. They will be on the ballot, of course, come this November. We will be right back this Sunday morning with more on For the Record. Welcome back to For the Record on this Sunday morning. We are now just 9 days before the election, and there's a statewide ballot question you may not have heard about. It has to do with your tax money and transportation. Cruise by construction on University Avenue, and you'll see a billboard asking you to guarantee money for more construction.
We're just saying if we tell the public we're raising the money for a certain purpose, we should in fact spend it for that purpose.
A coalition of construction groups is supporting a constitutional amendment you'll see on your ballot in November, saying the state can only spend money in the transportation fund, which comes largely from the gas tax on transportation systems, and prohibit any money transfers out. That happened 4 times since 2003, the Doyle administration shifting $1.4 billion over that time, saying it was needed to pay for schools and other priorities.
It broke people's trust that our years of fees were going for what they're supposed to. And we ended up replacing all that with bonding, which we continue to pay in this budget and many budgets to come.
The idea may be one of the few that both candidates for governor can agree on.
It's an issue hopefully will never happen again in the future, because on this fall's ballot, there's a constitutional amendment that would prohibit those sorts of raids.
I do support the amendment. I see no problem with doing that, and I thought it was wrong that those that transportation funds were used for other purposes in the Doyle administration.
But not all Democrats are on the same page. Madison Representative Therese Berceau voted against the amendment in the legislature last year. She says no other parts of the budget have ever been called untouchable.
I just don't see that our Constitution is the place to guarantee money. Maybe guaranteeing rights and guaranteeing that we're going to spend money on certain things, but guaranteeing the funding source, that's a budget item.
So voters going to the polls right now will see that on their ballot. In-person, absentee, or early voting started on Monday and continues through this Friday. Municipal clerks reported steady turnout on Monday. This is the first election where early voting hours are limited from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. during weekdays. The city of Madison used to hold weekend hours. Those are no longer allowed. The candidates for governor have spent the week both encouraging early voting and turnout among their base. The two candidates spent time among some of their target audiences on Thursday. Mary Burke was with students on a Milwaukee campus. Governor Scott Walker with manufacturers in multiple spots across the state, including Janesville.
And I talk to students every day, and the questions I'm asked is, why is it important to me? What should I say to my classmates? Well, there is a lot riding on this election in terms of how it affects young people.
It's part of the reason why the ads I'm up running right now are me just looking at the voters sitting on a couch, relaxed, talking to the voters about the good things we've done and things we want to do going forward. Because I think those independent voters in particular, that's what they want. They want to hear directly from the candidate, and they want to cut right to the chase, just the facts.
Walker and Burke will now spend their final week barnstorming the state in hopes of your vote on November 4th. We'll be right back with For the Record. Thanks for joining us this morning. Have a great rest of your weekend.